Welcome back to Formal Fitness, everybody. I'm your host, Jim Dandy, and today we are discussing the difference between burning calories and burning fat. So I discussed in the last video about the heart rates. I touched a little bit on this subject, but I wanted to go into a little more detail. So the main difference between the two is when you're burning calories, you're burning calories from carbohydrates. So that is not your body's stored fat so much, but things that you've eaten that day. You're burning through energy from things you've eaten that day, things you've drinking. Any weight you lose from this, it's mostly going to be like water weight. Any short-term retention of weight, you're not actually going to chip away at any areas in the body. Now, when you're actually burning fat, you're going to notice you may lose the same amount of weight you're losing when you're burning the carbohydrates, but you're going to notice that you're losing inches. You're going to be able to measure yourself and notice that you're going down in inches. Now, the biggest reason that we burn carbohydrates instead of actually fat is because of our heart rate. Now, I discussed this in the last video. I showed you how to calculate that magical number. Well, this is where that number comes into play. So, if you calculate that number to burn fat, for me, we figured out it was 148. If we're staying away from that number, if we're too low of a number, we're really not going to burn anything over a long period of time. I mean, if you were to do the treadmill for you have to do it for hours at a really low heart rate to get anything out of it. Who has time for that? And if your heart rate is too high, you're getting into that heart health and that cardiovascular. So again, we're getting into this carbohydrate area. So we want to stay around that magic number 148, which is what I calculated for me. It's probably different for you guys. It's going to be different for everybody. So I touched on that subject a little bit in the last video, but basically, if you're doing cardio, you want to incorporate some lifting too. You want to try and build muscle. I'm going to get into that also. But that's where you want that number to be to actually start burning fat, because what you're doing is you're sustaining that heart rate for a long period of time through your routines. Your body is no longer pulling on your daily energy. It's pulling things that it's stored. It's going to go into that stored fat, that stored energy, and it's going to start using that up to maintain the stamina you need for your exercise routine. And that's when you're going to start losing the inches. Now, it's not to say you can go out to the gym the next day and work out for 2 hours at a heart rate of 148 and you're going to drop a whole size. It's a timely process. It's weeks, it's months to really notice a huge, huge difference. But that is where we want that magic number. And you're going to really notice a difference once you start paying attention to your heart rate. The other thing, again, is incorporating more lifting into your routines. If you're doing only cardio, you're just running, you're biking, the elliptical, any kind of cardio routine, dance aerobics, or any other kind of aerobic classes, you're going to lose some weight, you'll notice, but you're only going to get so far with that. And the problem is, you may not be losing fat, you may also be losing muscle, because the first thing the body is going to do is it's going to start burning muscle before it burns fat. Fat to your body is like gold, and it's going to hold on to that as long as it can. It's like Smeagol from Lord of the Rings and Oh My Precious. That is how your body reacts to stored fat. It covets the stored fat. So you may be losing some inches and you may be losing some pounds on the scale, but you'll notice the minute you start slowing down on that cardio, it's going to come right back, just like that. I can't snap too good, sorry. So, you have to constantly starve yourself, and you have to cardio for hours to maintain, where you're at, body-wise. So this is where the muscle becomes really important. If you're actively working those muscles, you're tearing those muscles, repairing those muscles, your body can no longer burn that muscle. because you're using it. If you're actively using those muscles, tearing those muscles, building those muscles through strength training, whether it's, you know, bicep curls, triceps, shoulders, chest, you know, whatever it is, that forces the body to go into other areas to get its energy. And that's where you start losing inches from other parts of the body. Usually you'll start to lose in the face a little bit. You may lose a few inches here and there. Also, you want to, with your diet, you want to start incorporating more proteins, because as you know, we're working those muscles. To help repair those muscles, you need to feed your body protein. Nice lean proteins, chicken, fish, that's going to give your body what it needs to repair what's here. So what happens when we're building that muscle, you know, when you get that soreness the next day from your exercise routines, that means you have actually damaged this muscle. You've torn it. There are little tears in the muscle, and those achy feelings, that is your body reacting to what you have done. And as you continue to feel that achiness, that is your body repairing itself. It comes in and it's, let's say this is your muscle here, these 2 fingers here, and you tear that muscle through your exercise. Well, to repair that muscle, it adds more muscle. So now all of a sudden, you have another strand of muscle. So you're going to notice, you're going to start gaining inches here in the arms and the chest and the shoulders, maybe in the thighs, you know, if you're doing those leg days. And you're going to really start to shed down here. You're going to just incredible amounts of weight. I've lost close to between 50 to 60 pounds myself. I have gone down several sizes. I used to wear a 44 jacket. I'm down to a 40. I've gone from a 38 waist down to a 34. I mean, significant changes. So, one other thing I just want to touch on, it's not always the scale. You can get on the scale. If you're building muscle, you're not going to lose a lot of pounds on the scale. Muscle weighs more than fat. So you may get on the scale and you, well shoot, I busted my butt this week and I'm up 2 pounds. Well, measure your arms, measure that chest. Have you gained any in the chest? I like to suggest to people when you first start out on a routine, yeah, get on the scale, sure, but take your measurements. Measure the biceps, measure the triceps, measure the chest, measure the shoulder span, measure those calves and thighs, and measure that waist. Come back a month later. Get on the scale, see where you're at. If you feel like your numbers aren't where you want them, measure yourself again. See where you've grown in other areas. So, that is just touching on the difference between burning fat and burning calories. Again, as always, like and subscribe at the bottom. And until next time, this is Jimmy signing off.